Here in the third block of the Cultural Hall, the Pharaoh himself joins us to talk all things temples of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We call it appropriately and with alliteration, the Temple Ticker. Hello, Pharaoh. How are you?
Hello, Richie.
I am excited because you have been not only studying up on the latest and greatest of the temples of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but traveling, and everyone, even if it's for work, is a little bit cheerier when they get to travel, get to be somewhere else for a hot minute. Everything well?
Yeah, doing pretty well.
Yeah. You leave BYU and now you got a beard just like everybody else. How typical.
Yeah.
It's like the missionaries who come home and they get home on what, like a Wednesday or a Tuesday, and by Sunday they've got the soul patch or they've got a mustache or they're doing something where you're like, okay, got it. We got it. You can
I'm ready. Yeah.
facial hair now. Great. Enjoy it. So I'm proud of you.
Thank you, Richie.
I think Fu Manchu, though, is maybe in your future. You've got a good dark, nice kind of lining of the old pie hole. That's what the kids say.
Okay.
The kids say pie hole.
Thank you.
Fu Manchu. Isn't that the it's like a goatee that goes all the way down? I think you should, if you want to get crazy, if you want to prove to me how much you like facial hair, Fu Manchu by the next
Yeah. I'll consider that.
Yeah, you bet. I bet you will. You seem the type. We talk all things temples of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and so we start with what? Groundbreakings?
Yeah. So even though the month of July is normally a dead time for temple news, there is actually quite a bit of releases, news releases this July. So there are going to be 2 groundbreakings in October. One in Modesto, California on October 7th. Be by Gary B Sabin, I think is
the
his
head
name.
coach of Alabama.
Well, it's not the first football coach that's been in the 70. And then on October 28th, the Fort Worth, Texas temple will have that ground broken by Jose L. Alonzo. So
now that Gary Sabin, Elder Sabin, that sounds familiar. Jose Alonzo, I should probably know who that person is, but I don't think I've ever heard that name before.
Might be kind of new.
Okay.
Over the last couple of years. So
okay, well then that's on me. I apologize, Elder Alonzo, that I don't know who you are. So then what? We go after groundbreakings, renderings, temples that are like, hey, this is what this is going to look like, maybe.
Yeah, the Cleveland, Ohio temple. Woo! I know something that's close to you, Richie. So they released a rendering of it. It's, a 10,000 square foot temple, 100 feet tall. Definitely, I think maybe you know this better than I do, but I think they took some inspiration off of the Cleveland area. When I just looked up like Cleveland architecture, I came up with a lot of pictures of something called the Terminal Tower in downtown. I guess there's other like big museums and stuff like that apparently I've been reading that people think it looks kind of like this. So yeah, they'll also build a small auxiliary building outside of the temple for non-patrons, have restrooms, a break room, and then storage. So I know you talked about in Helena, they have some things where you have some waiting stuff in the chapel next door. Because this temple won't have a chapel next door, they're going to have a little small building next door.
They did an auxiliary building that isn't a visitor center, but it's an auxiliary building.
That's right. And then recently, the town of Independence, which is where the temple's located, they've approved a lot consolidation and then a conditional use variance. So they look like the approvals have been going through smoothly.
Jose Alonzo, he was born in Mexico City, Mexico on November 17th, 1958. He married Rebecca Salazar in February of 1981. They're the parents of 2 children. He received a medical degree as a homeopathic physician and surgeon. And then in 1991, after attending the National Institute of Pediatrics, he received a degree in pediatric development. He's served as a member of the Central America and Caribbean area presidencies. He worked with the Red Cross Emergency Unit, the San Francisco Medical Clinic, and the church education system as an area director. So, Elder Alonzo, I'm sorry, you got quite the
Love
Quite
it.
the colored, favored career. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Let's see. You go to Bakersfield.
Open houses. Is that where we're going?
Let's go to Bakersfield first, really fast.
Okay.
They announced the spot where the Bakersfield temple will be announced. This is just, I think, announced a couple months ago. This temple, and so it's going to be at the on the west side of town, near the Stockdale Highway, just west of the CSU Bakersfield. So it's going to be a 1-story, 30,000 square foot building.
Oh, a
Will be
little bit bigger.
center and a meeting house. Yeah, a little bit bigger. But this is the size of all the other California temples, like the Modesto, the Yorba Linda temple. So
the thing that I wish, and I know this is not how it works, I know it's a lot more formal, but I wish that they'd be like, hey, news channels, here's the coordinate. I'm going to drop a pin. Meet us here. And then, all of them come. And then whoever from the church is there. And then they just stood up on, like a short riser, a foot riser or so. And all the news people are like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? And then the person just goes, the temple will be there, and just points. And that's it. That's what I wish the location announcements would be like.
Have their cane go out and make a spot right there. Here there'll be a temple built to our God.
Strike the ground. And here shall be a temple to our God. That'd be interesting. It'd be a lot more dramatic if we got to pick. If we got
better than a press release. Yeah.
We got to choose how this goes. Okay, so where do we go? Open houses. Yeah.
Open houses, yeah.
There really was a lot. And, you said July is usually a pretty dead month. The reason why, and people, if you don't recognize or realize this, all of the leadership takes the month of July off. It's like being in Congress. They say, don't go back here for a bit. And so normally things don't get released. But yeah, there's just been a ton. I guess when you have over 300, you can't take a month off.
It's true.
So Moses Lake, Washington.
Yeah, they just began their open house this last week. They I guess their top guest was a Catholic leader from the Diocese of Yakima, Robert Siler. So he was kind of the top guest that visited on Monday. And the open house will run this, I think, Friday through the 19th of August. And then we saw the first interior photos of the temple. Because Moses Lake is such an agricultural rich area, they took inspiration off of things like apple blossoms, potato, alfalfa. And then they kind of use a prairie style, kind of Native American motif that's kind of throughout the temple. And of course, Moses Lake is named after Chief Moses Clan. So that's a tribute to that Native American leader.
Did you were you impressed with what they inside look there at Moses Lake? Anything that was significant where you're like, oh, we haven't done that before?
Yeah. I really like the bride's room. They have a chandelier that says they got it from Venice, Italy.
Wow.
Kind of like some blown glass and everything. And the windows just kind of look like they have like kind of like there's trees blocking the windows because it's kind of like looking like you're kind of in a forest or whatever.
Wow.
So you have like nice apple blossoms and everything. So yeah.
Moses Lake, not really close. Like if you're driving from Utah or Idaho, at least on two of the routes that I could take, because I was going to stop by and actually go and be like, no, there it is. Nope.
If you're driving cross country through Montana, it's right next to I-90, so you'll pass right by it without having to exit the freeway.
Yeah, but if you're 15 or if you're 84, forget it, pal. You're not going by Moses Lake.
Sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. I'm very disappointed. I did a road trip recently. I was like, I bet I'll be nearby. Nope, I wasn't. Too far. Couldn't justify.
You passed through Yakima, right?
Yeah. Not close enough.
Not close enough.
Could have been Yakima. Could have been a Yakima instead of a Moses Lake temple.
Yeah, the church says that members of the church first began to move to the area in the 1900s to buy farmland. So I guess kind of a long history of church members there.
Well, and tons of farmland owned up there by members, or not members of the church, but by the corporation of the church. Tons.
ag
huge,
reserves, yeah.
a huge swath, if you will. We have our little place. This is for real too. People will think I'm joking because of the tone I'm using, but there's a place where it's like, oh, everything the light touches belongs to the Mormons. And then you have that part, and then if you turn and face the other way, everything the light touches belongs to Bill Gates. And it really is like,
Yeah, I think the church and Bill Gates got in a bidding war off a big part of land that the
yep,
church won.
yep,
So
yep.
I
So
think it's
take
right in the
that, Brother
area.
Gates. Take that. There literally is so much. I'm surprised as we just kind of keep go through all this. You can find in the show notes, by the way, links to all of the things we're talking about, the interior photos, if you want to see the location of these various temples. So now we go to Brazil.
Yeah, this is kind of a big deal for the country of Brazil. There's the first temple in the capital of Brazil, Brasilia. It opened for tours, and it says more than 450 journalists, government leaders, and other dignitaries have attended the temple on the first day of it open. The governors of both Brasilia and the state of Bahia both got tours by Sister and Elder Suarez. So,
And you got to think that they're probably just hanging out there a lot of the time. Because normally, yeah, I mean, really, like the church was probably like, hey, go down there and be there for this. It's
yeah,
only,
perhaps during his vacation he was down there in Brazil and he just stayed there. Maybe.
yeah, it's only 4 weeks, you guys. You can take it. We'll get you a nice place. Stay down there and be there for any of the top level officials that want to go in. I think
Yeah.
I don't know why they wouldn't do something like that.
And normally there's only like 2 or 3 days of VIP tours, but they're having a full like 2 weeks of
Yeah.
VIP tours if they're on
Yeah.
there. So, and it's going to be open from August 12th to September 2nd. And we saw the first interior photos of this temple. And so, you don't see this kind of style every day. If you're familiar with like the Jordan River, the Idol Falls, the Provo Temple, it's kind of a mid-century modern style. You have a lot of white marble, you have a lot of arches and columns, you have a lot of stained glass that's in geometric shapes. You have a lot of wood paneling throughout the temple.
It seems to me that it's probably a little bit fancy because I sort of think of Brazil as a little bit fancy.
Certainly the capital is a planned city. So back in like the mid 1950s time, Brasilia was a planned city, and one of the prominent architects there, Oscar Niemeyer, he designed several of the buildings. It says to have clean lines, expansive cantilevers, complex curves, and he wanted these buildings to kind of look like they were like arches on a sailboat. And so I think this temple kind of lives up to that.
In your notes, you say cornerstone is surrounded by water. What does that mean?
I found this funny. So instead of having like flower gardens on the edge, like right next to the temple, you have these reflecting ponds to kind of that mid-century look of having a clean line throughout the temple. And I saw that the cornerstone of the temple was located like right above these reflecting ponds. And so it made me wonder that if they had not have gotten rid of these cornerstone ceremonies, they would have had to like got some weird contraption to stand over the water to put the mortar in. I don't know.
No, see,
it would have been very complicated. Maybe they got rid of the cornerstone just for this temple.
That's what I'm saying. Thank you for coming around. And here's the thing. I think it's our faith. I think that's why. Because could have just stood on the water.
Could have just stood on the water. You had the faith.
Done the cornerstone ceremony. The other thing that I think is interesting, and you didn't point this out, but the architect for the Brazil temple also invented the hot dog, which I didn't know that. That's very
Tell me more, Richie.
Yeah. Well, Oscar Niemeyer, my baloney has a first name. It's Oscar. My baloney has a second name. It's Niemeyer. Congratulations. I've now led you down a pit of which we cannot go back. I knew it was coming, but I didn't know the reasons why. I figured as much. The temple closure of the San Diego temple.
Yeah, it closed on Saturday, July 29th. During the renovation, which will probably be a couple years or so, they're going to fix kind of the leakages that have been happening in the windows and the roof. They're going to repurpose the cafeteria and the dining room. Don't know what it will be repurposed to. but they're going to enlarge some of the ordinance space as well. And then this temple is kind of, being in a humid climate, or I guess a wet climate like San Diego. It's had a lot of problems with the stucco, so maybe they'll do something with that. And then something I noticed that wasn't really publicized by the church, but was on the schedule of these temples, is that several of these small Hinckley temples in the United States are closing for like 5 or 6 months. And so they're kind of like not full renovations. Columbia, South Carolina, Winter Quarters, Nebraska, Nashville, Tennessee, Louisville, Kentucky are all having closures for several months. And so maybe instead of these full renovations that we're seeing in these other smaller temples, they're opting to do a smaller, more targeted renovation.
And or could be they're just going to start taking out walls and bringing in the modular ones. They're going to knock out the we've got it on mass production down in Alabama. We're like, we need a wall for the whatever temple. I imagine sort of a big X-ray, or not X-ray, but a big printer. Why can't I think of what it is? 3D printer. Just making the walls of the temple there, and then they put them on a truck, and we put them in. That we can change them out.
Yeah. Something we learned this past month is that we've been debating about the government approvals for the Cody, Wyoming temple, but we learned that the church has already sneakily shipped those modules for the temple and are storing them in town. And so I guess some journalists noticed that there's some big white containers like on the side of in this place in town, and so they were wondering what they were, and the church did confirm that those are the pieces for the temple. And so even though the temple has been delayed because of approvals, the church was ready to, or the people from Alabama were ready to go with those modules, and so now they're just sitting there in Cody.
My grandma called it counting your eggs before they're hatched. I mean, it really is a big deal. If you follow anything in Cody, it is a town council divided. I have a call into the mayor of the town of Cody, hopefully to be on an episode to talk to us about it, on how it's impacting this small town in Wyoming, that they said, listen, yeah, of course, there's lots of members of the church here. Come build your temple. That's fine. That's not the issue at all.
What is the issue?
It's the steeple.
The steeple.
It's the height of the steeple. Now, there are a lot of people that are like, listen, we don't want this here. This is a ginormous billboard for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And other people, members of the church who were like, listen, this is great. It's going to improve value. It's an iconic thing. You don't understand what it means. All of these things. But the church now 2 lawsuits in to be able to have the steeple be 90 additional feet beyond the 30 feet that the building of the temple is.
Yeah, the church confirmed the Select Tribune this week that they're still seeking to build the temple at its full steeple size. And then, 2 lawsuits. One about the procedures about the board, how they maybe didn't something to do with the votes. They were wondering if they were supposed to get approval, even though they had a full quorum. I don't know. You'll have to read about it in the links that I provide. It's kind of complicated, but the second lawsuit just filed, I think this week, is trying to clarify that does this board have the right to regulate height for a steeple? And basically, so two lawsuits now in Cody are happening.
An interesting discussion that's sort of an aside to all this is if the town, and presumably is, okay with the temple being built there, and we're just making a lot of people mad by building a steeple. I mean, I guess my question is, why don't we just not build the steeple and not make people mad? Now, I know there will be people that are like, well, but it was approved. Okay. And then, because of some weirdness with the city council, it was not approved anymore. It doesn't seem to me that what the outside, and certainly the steeple, because we're not talking about the symbol of Moroni or, a statue of the Savior or anything like that. It seems to me far more important, one, that the building be built and that I'm able to, do the ordinances within. That's probably primary. And then 2, that it serves as an opportunity to unite the community. And that does not seem like what this is. So if someone, contact at theculturalhall.com, can share with me why it's so danged important that we stick with our steeple plans. Is it so we aren't pushed around? Is that why we're so adamant about it? Is we don't want to be discriminated against for our steeple size? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get why we don't just go, you know what? Thank you for letting us be in the community. And I think the same sort of thing sort of extends to Heber, although it's a completely different issue.
Yeah. It looks like maybe instead of the planning commission getting involved, it might just go straight to the city council now. So they're going to probably get more of the responsibility of approving the temple. There's still some questions over the lighting, the height, and maybe the church will also file a lawsuit if things don't go their way. So we'll see how that happens.
Okay. All right. A pageant starting. This is temple.
We'll leave off with some happy news. The next to the Preston England Temple, it's over in Chorley, England, where they have the MTC. They're gonna run the British pageant over the next 2 weeks. So August 2nd through the 5th and the 8th through the 12th. The British pageant is happening. This is one of only 3 remaining pageants that are produced by the church. This pageant is typically held every 4 years, but it's been delayed since 2020 because of COVID, obviously. But you can see the British pageant also every year in Nauvoo. And so if you don't get the chance to go to Chorley, go ahead and go to Nauvoo.
So same script, but they only do it every 4 years in Chorley. Am I understanding that right?
That's what I understand.
See, I think if you're going to see the British pageant, you see the one in England.
Yeah, you don't want those fake English accents like the ones in Nauvoo.
Hello, is that Brother Joseph? Well, I guess we'll go to the United States. Like, you know that there's got to be that one, and I'm here for it. I'm here for every bit of it. That one guy who is so excited about it and so exaggerative about it. Well, I guess I'll pray about it and see if I'm back here on the ship in the morning. And you're just like, okay, guy. Good for you. Thank you for your mission service, because they're missions, even though they're short. The folks doing it in Nauvoo, it's a mission. I wonder, is it just is it similar to like when Manti, if you're just sort of in the area, you auditioned and then you're able to be part of it? Do you know that much of your British pageantry?
Yeah, that's what I assume. Although maybe they're not too picky. It says that they have over 130 performers and then over 700 people volunteering. So it's a big production and they're taking everyone that they can get, I assume.
Okay. Putting it on my calendar right now, 2027. I'm going to do it backwards. I'm going to be the exuberant guy, but go to Britain.
I love it.
Hello, everyone. Pack your books of Mormon and we leave in the morning. Did he say leave in the morning, or did he say leave in the morning? Thank you for doing, as you do all the time, over-preparing and providing links for everything that we talked about. You can find those in the show notes at theculturalhall.com. You can also see Corey's cute face on YouTube if you want to find the Cultural Hall over on YouTube. You can find the Temple Ticker video, he and I. You can see that good-looking beard, and my now I'm clean-shaven. Look at how all that works. We hope that this episode has nourished and strengthened your body.
Hope that if you weren't able to listen this week, that you'll be able to listen next week.
And when the time comes, you'll be able to travel home in safety. In the meantime, we'll be saving a seat for you
on the back row
of the Cultural
Hall.